Linda, welcome everybody. This is definitely the largest class, the largest webinar I've ever taught, so thank you all for being here. Looking forward to spending the next hour or so with you going over some of the cool new features of Accordance version 12. We're really excited about it. There's some really powerful things that it'll do, and what I really appreciate is that the new features haven't all been targeted only at one group of users. We've got some good things in here for pastors. We have some good things in here for scholars, and then for just your average user like me, we've got some really cool things too. So, looking forward to showing you what we've got. So I thought I'd start out with the most important new features, and then go on down from there. So by far the most important feature of version 12 has to be the new icon. I love how it looks. No, I'm just kidding. It is a new icon. There you go. But not the most important new feature. Okay, but one of the top new features has to be something that we call stacks. Now, a stack is it's a place to accumulate your thoughts and ideas as you're studying and working through a project. And let me show you how it works. If you have some Bible text open and you want to add a verse or several verses to a stack, all you have to do is highlight them and click on the Add to Stack button. All right, and it will create a new stack if it doesn't already. If I go down to if I hold, this interface element here was hard for us to try to figure out because we wanted a single button that allowed you to both click on it to add an item to a stack as well as open up a currently existing stack. So this, we stretched Apple's interface guidelines a little bit and Microsoft's interface guidelines a little bit. So when you see the Add to Stack button, which now appears on your toolbar as a new button, if you click and hold on the button, you get a pop-up menu. And so the stacks that you've created will be listed here. You can open the current stack that you're working with, or you can create a new stack. So let's go ahead and start by creating a new stack. That's probably the best thing to do. It's just going to ask us for a name, so I'll call it Webinar Stack. Okay, and now that I have that stack created, just so you know where the stacks are located, they're in your library under My Stuff. And here we have My Stacks, the My Stack category, and there's the webinar stack that I just created. All right, and I can double click on it and open it up if I want to. I don't have to open it up to add it to the stack. So in fact, let me just close it now so I can show you how adding something to the stack works. I just click on the Add to Stack button, and there it goes. It puts what I've highlighted into a stack of items in this stack. All right, so not just Bible text. If I am in a tool, like here's mounces, I can highlight that, click the Add to Stack button, and it's going to add that to it as well. And you'll see I've got those two things stacked there. It'll let you stack images as well. So let me open up the photo guide and get an image from there. And so here we go. Either any of them, it doesn't matter. I just want to grab a picture. All right, so here's an image. I can click on the Add to Stack button here, and it adds that to the stack as well. So you can get the idea of how this works. As long as Accordance knows what it is you've highlighted or the image that happens to be at the forefront, clicking on the Add to Stack button will just add it for you as easily as that. You can also add your own information too. If I click on the Add to User Item button here, it lets me create my own stack. So I could give it any name I wanted to. So heavens and earth, and I can add a note to myself to Genesis 1, and then I can have contents here, whatever I want to. I can copy and paste from somewhere outside of Accordance, type in my own information. So in the beginning is repeated in John 1:1. All right, and what I also want to point out is that whenever you're typing in your own information here, it's just that easy to see. So notice that green indicates that this is a user item that I've created. Blue indicates that it's visual content, like a picture. And red indicates that it's text from either a Bible text or a tool. Notice that it also gives you it retains the bibliographic information, which is really neat. And later on, we'll see how important that is when we're getting ready to create a paper. Okay, so I can just keep adding to this stack all the information that I'm gleaning in my research. And again, it's really a cool idea. I think that when we first thought about this idea, when our developers first thought about this idea, they thought that people would only want an individual stack. It became apparent real quickly that people wanted multiple stacks. So it's just neat that you can have as many stacks as you want. Then they are retained here in your library, but let me also point out that the stack itself is in your Documents folder. So whether you're on a Mac or a Windows computer, if you go to your Documents folder, there's a folder called Accordance Files, and that's created when Accordance is installed on your computer. And inside there, you've got a folder called Stacks, and there they are. And you can send these, you can just email these to someone that has Accordance, and as long as they have the same modules installed that you do, they'll be able to see your stack as well. All right. So, again, creating stacks is super easy. It was intended to be that way. To make it sort of seamless as a part of your research process. Anybody have any questions before I continue on? Okay, let me put the beginning, but if I click on this drop-down arrow, I can go to Rename Stack here and rename it Webinar Stack 1. All right, so now it's got a new name. All right, I can click on the drop-down menu here and choose any other stack that I might have, so I can cycle through them really easily.
What relation to stacks is user notes?
There's no relation in this. They're like two separate things. So yeah, they don't interact in any kind of way. So. Okay.
Is there a way?
Go ahead.
Is there a way to add to a stack without opening the stack until after you've added all you want added?
Yeah, you can add with a keyboard shortcut as well. So add selection to the stack is Command Option K or Control Option K on a PC. Let's see. Command Option K. Well, I guess it's, let's see. I think that was because it was open. Let me add something else here. Yeah, I guess it's just automatically opening it no matter what I do. Some of these questions, they're interesting to me because I've been using an alpha and then the beta of this, and earlier versions of it didn't automatically open that tab, and now it does. So I was thinking it wasn't going to, and now that I see that it is, it's a little disconcerting. But yeah, it looks like it's just going to open it up either way. And let me just see if I do the add. If I just do the Add to Stack button, yeah, that's opening it up too. So yeah, I guess it's going to be open no matter what it looks like. And as far as the photo guide has been supplanted by the new photo guide overview with its different component parts. The reason for that primarily is that photo guide 4 was rapidly approaching our 2 GB module limit. and that's not something that we could easily fix. So, because of that, we didn't want to just stop adding photos to the photo guide. So we added the photo guide overview, and what that does is it gives you the basic content from the photo guide, and then links to additional content in a lot of these photo guides that handle just different sections of the Mediterranean area. So, so yeah, that's the answer to that. Photo Museum 2, I think, is an upgrade to Photo Museum, so I don't think you'd need both if you already have Photo Museum. And I do have both on here, I see. But yeah, so that's slightly different. Photo Museum 2 has everything that Photo Museum has in it plus more.
And did I ask this? How do you copy or print the entire stack? Did I ask that already?
I don't think you did. Let's see. So if I open my current stack, if to print it, just go to File and Print, and it'll print out all the contents of your stack that way. I think you can. I know you can use the clipboard here to copy out individual items if you want to bring them out into something else. So yeah, so just copy to the clipboard any of those individual items that you want to copy out. But yeah, it'll print the whole thing just by going to File and Print. Okay. All right, good questions. Let me also mention that the action menu here that looks like a cog wheel will let you sort. And so you can sort the items in your stack by what you see here, what you would expect, that title, module name, importance. Importance, if you hover over the area here at the title area of the stack, you can click on that star, and that'll mark it as important, and those things will be filtered to the top if you sort them by importance. Okay. All right, good questions. Well, let's move on. We've got a lot of stuff to show you. All right, that stacks. We also have another new major feature called Papers. All right, and if I click and hold here, I can open up a pre-existing paper, or I can click on New Paper. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And we have templates for papers. And let me just mention what a paper is in accordance. A paper is designed to be a word processor, but it's heavily outline, well, it has an outline structure, and it's very dependent on that outline structure. So we have templates for lectures and lessons and sermons, different types of sermons, and you can create your own templates if you want. Let me just double click and open up the default paper. So as you can see, it starts out with just a basic outline, and I can type in whatever I want in this outline. So let's see. Let's see. God's character, something like that. We can type in God's character as described in Genesis 1. Then I can make this a subpoint if I want. If I just hover next to it, I have these two arrows, so I can say, you know what, let's make that a subpoint under here. And, so God is omniscient. You get the idea, all right? And I can make this a subpoint if I want, or I can bring it back to where it was before. Notice that in paper, anytime I type in a reference, it automatically makes it a hyperlink, which is kind of cool. All right, just by typing it, I don't have to click any special button to make that happen. Papers you can rename them here with the tab. Let's call this God's character. All right, click OK, and notice that papers also show up in your library under My Stuff. So here's the new one on God's character that I've just created. And I can add items from my stack. The little button here on the right-hand side of my screen is the stack button. And I can just grab these items and drag them into my paper, putting them wherever I want them to be. All right. Okay, and remove those there. And again, all these scriptures are now hyperlinked. You'll notice that I've got them showing up in Hebrew. Well, if I play, so you change the display by either pressing Command T on a Mac or Control T, or going up to Display and going down to Set Paper Display. And here I can set my primary text if I want to be something like the ESV, and because the ESV doesn't contain the Apocrypha, and I want, let's say, First Maccabees or something like that, I may want to choose something like the NRSV that does have those. Let me also point out that this is where you can choose the type of bibliographic settings you want, and it's how you set your outline markers. So right now, as you'll notice, I have the Roman numerals here for my outline, but I can shift them to the regular Latin characters. I go down to bullets for these subpoints, and just like that, I've changed the structure of the content here. Pictures, I can click on them to bring them up, the pictures that I've imported, so that's kind of cool too. And let's see, I can, let's see, move my picture around. By default, it's going to go on the right, but I can bring it over here to the left by clicking on this action menu, or just bring it on top and with the information underneath it. All right. And let's see. Oh, papers automatically save. You don't have to click save to save them. And this little button here shows you the time when each of these are saved. And by default, what it'll do is it saves every 5 minutes. So it'll be a list here. Every 5 minutes, you can go back to a prior paper and get those changes. You can go revert forward to get some of those changes. It saves it, I think, every 5 minutes for an hour, and then every hour for 24 hours, and then every day for a week, and things like that. So almost kind of way the time machine saves things on a Mac, if you're familiar with that. So yeah, question?
Can you search a stack?
That's a good question. I don't, let's see. Let me just open up the stack here, and Command F or Control F. Yeah, it doesn't look like you can. No. So
okay.
You can sort them, but you can't search for them. But as long as we're talking about searching, let me mention that you can search through your paper. And so if Command or Control F, we're just going to search and find and replace. So inside paper, you definitely can do that.
Okay. Is Papers exportable to Keynote or PowerPoint?
You can save it as plain text or RTF. You can, let's see, I think you can just select everything here and copy it into something like Word. It doesn't export directly into, there's no export to Word kind of option, or export to pages kind of option, but you can just copy and paste it and bring it in to it that way.
Does the research tool search a paper?
Good questions. Wow.
One
Things
after the
I hadn't
other,
even thought about before. But no, the research option doesn't research papers. So as far as I know, I don't think so. I may be wrong.
Well, let's see. Since they're over in the library, I don't know. I don't know how you can make it into a group.
We'll talk about research, and we'll look there when we get to research, and we'll see if we can do it. But good questions, man. I hadn't even thought about those.
And then,
go ahead.
Charmin, did you get your papers icon on your toolbar? There was a question about if you don't have the papers on the toolbar.
Yeah, you know what? By default, I don't think it's on there. I don't know why we put add to stack automatically there, but we didn't add papers. So if you want to add it to your toolbar, you're just going to, the way I do it is just right-click anywhere in an empty space on my toolbar and go down to Customize Toolbar. And And of course, I'm on a Mac. Windows is very different in how you add things to the toolbar, but you will have a button, an icon there for paper, and you'll be able to add it. On a Mac, you just drag it. On a PC, there'll be two windows, and you're going to select it in the left-hand window, click on the arrow, and it brings it over to the right-hand window. So. Yeah.
And there are two questions here. You might be able to put these together. Can users create new papers templates, and how to copy everything from a stack to paper?
You can create a new paper template by creating it just the way you want it, right? You can add new items here. We didn't talk about doing that, but if I just select a heading here, I get a little button up here, and I can click that, and it adds a new heading. Or I can click on the little action menu and add a new item or a new sub-item, right? So I can create it exactly the way I want it, and then just come over to the action menu here on the side of paper, save as template, webinar template. All right, and then when I want to open that as a new template, when I go to papers and I go to new paper, it should be at the bottom of the list. So there's webinar template, right? The question was about adding everything at once. Let's see, from a stack. So let's go to the stack here. And I think you have to do it one at a time. I don't think it'll do it all together. And I think the idea here was that, you would have a stack filled with things, and generally you're not going to want to move everything all at one time and put it in exactly the same place. At least that's what the developers were thinking people wouldn't do. So if enough people are saying, no, that's what I would like, then yep, put them on the forums and let us know. With these brand new features, there's plenty of growing room for those kinds of things. You just gotta let us know that that's what you want. But the way I described it was kind of the way they expected you to work. Create this stack full of stuff, go through the stack and say, yep, this is the one that goes right here. This is the one that goes right here. And then once I have these things outlines, I can reorder my outlines inside my paper. In fact, I can also, because this paper is in my library, I can open up multiple instances of the paper. And this is, again, because it's heavily outline based, they created it so that you could click on the show button and say, you know what, I just want a summary of this without the content, and I want to print this out for my study group. I don't want them to have every single note that I made. I just want them to have the basic outline. In fact, let's get rid of the summary too and just have titles. All right, and so then you can say, no, I want to see my notes for me when I add notes, and I'm going to create a separate handout for that. You can open up all the sub-levels or close all the sub-levels. You can see the endnotes. Let me talk about analytics here. You have the View Analytics button here that's now been placed in a central area instead of over in the side, so it's a lot easier to see. We also have a new Analytics button on the toolbar, and that's kind of cool too. It just makes it more obvious. And this is something you've been able to do since Accordance 1, so, but a lot of people hadn't even known that it was there. So all our graphs have been updated, so things like our pie charts are not only prettier now, but they used to be completely static. And no longer are they completely static. Now there's some really neat things that we can do with them. So when I performed the search for love, it's broken down all the different ways that the word for love, the original language words for love, are used within the text. So chesed is used 197 times in the ESV, agape, chav, agapao, and so forth. And I can select any one of these. By the way, if I come over here too, I can see some of the more minor variations. Like here's phileo, and I can based on my ESV that I'm looking at here, now I can see how many times the word phileo has been translated and the different ways in which it's been translated. So, so it's translated 3 times as kiss, 6 times as loves, and so forth. And then I can click on, let me just go back to prior results to show you what I'm doing before I do it. If I want to see, all right, so the ESV translators translated phileo as kiss 3 times, but what other ways, what other words are used to translate kiss in the ESV? So if I click on that, now it's showing me all the different words that are translated as kiss in the ESV. And so phileo, kataphileo, philema, and nashach, and so forth. So kind of cool that no longer are they static now, and I can just, now we can actually work with the different pieces here. I can also just select the word itself, and of course I just searched for love, and it's just going to give me the capital L and lowercase l. But if I use an asterisk here to find different variations, here it's going to give me things like loving kindness and so forth. So if I go to agapao, I can see that it's love and beloved and so forth. And if I go to beloved here, I can see the different ways, the different words that are used to translate beloved in the ESV. All right, and so word and key number allow me to switch and alternate between those, and then I click on the prior results button to get back to where I was. And it's not only the pie chart that's been updated. You can also look at the bar chart. It'll show you essentially the same kind of things, but just in a bar chart form. And I love this as well. Under the concordance now, it used to be completely static, no longer. Now I can go, any of these scripture links are now clickable, so I can go to where I want to go. Let me also show you, there's another thing I wanted to mention. With the hits graph, for example, it's now, you can zoom in, it's zoomable, and because you can zoom in, you can also pan through it. Again, it used to be completely static and you didn't have those kinds of options, so it's kind of neat that you can do that now.
Can you see all the words in the pie chart?
Well, let's see what we've got here. So bringing up the pie chart again. We went to bar chart. Let's do the pie chart. All right, so I can say, either show me the key number or show me the specific words. So if I select words, then it's going to show me all the different ways that everything I'm getting with my LOV asterisk search. All right, so if I go to lovers here, it's going to show me all the different Hebrew and Greek words that are translated lovers. And I can click on ahav, and I can see all the different ways that is translated. So it's kind of like I'm going in this. How would you describe it? I'm not drilling down. I'm going sideways, kind of, in my search, looking for the way the Hebrew word is, or the Greek word is translated, and that'll give me all the different English variants in the ESV, and then I can look at any one of those English variants to see all the different ways the Hebrew or Greek words are translated from that Hebrew variant. So I'm kind of going sideways in my search as I'm looking at the pie chart.
Can you go directly to a list of the verses shown in the pie?
No, right now you can't do that. So, at least not in this chart. When we look at some of the research analytics, you can do it within that. So speaking of research analytics, let's go there next. Research has become even more powerful in version 12. There's some really cool things you can do with it. One of my favorite, well, let me just show you a couple of things I can do. Let's just look for an English word in all my texts. We'll just do love again. All right. And if it's a word search that you've done, not a verse search, but a word search will bring up the View Analytics button here. And I can look at a hits graph or an analysis graph or a pie chart or a bar chart. Let's look at the pie chart again. And you can see on the fly as the progress bar goes, it's looking through every single one of my texts for the word love. Okay? And it's showing me an aggregate of all the different forms that are being used here. So if I look at chesed here, it's showing me how many times it's being used in all those different forms. So it makes a lot more sense when you just select an individual word like chesed. And so now I can see that chesed is translated. It's used, as you'd expect, it's going to be found in a lot of these. JPS isn't going, some of these, the corpuses may be larger or smaller than some of the others. But let me show you where it gets fun. If I click the compare button, and let me bring this out so you can see it a lot better. Okay, let's see. In fact, let me back up here and let's look for, let's go to Agapao. That'll be maybe a little bit more familiar here. And instead of version, let's go down to key number. Well, no, I'm sorry. Let's go to Word. Okay, that's going to show us that. Let's go back to version. All right, so it's going to show me Agapao as it is in all the texts. So let's see here. If I go to just the, let's see, oh, in the NIV, didn't like that. There we go. This is where I was going to show you. You can also drill down when you're performing a research analysis and see the results there. So ESV, if I click on that, it's going to open up the ESV and show me that search, which is a search for the word love, and then when it's found at that particular key number. Let's see. Let's do. Let's perform a search here. That's the way an English text is used, but working with the original language search, it is even more powerful. So let's play around with that a little bit. So if I search for Agapao and bring up a pie chart, I can look for it in mood and so forth, but if I come up to the top and select version, it's going to show me all the times that Agapao is used and how many, the frequency, how many times it's found in all of these different texts. And of course, our Septuagint with the combination of the Greek New Testament is going to be even larger. But let's do this. This is a fun one I was looking at. What I've just done is I've said, look for Agapao when it's found in the feminine gender, and then break it down by version. And then I've also said show the relative word densities. If I don't choose show relative word densities, then I'm just going to get more feminine agapaos based on how large the corpus is, right? And the larger the corpus, probably the more times it's going to have agapao in its feminine form. But if I come over here to the action menu and say show relative word densities, then if it's a smaller book or corpus, it's going to, as in the case of Ruth, but it uses agapao in the feminine form a lot, it's going to reflect that in the pie graph. So it's pretty powerful how that works. Let me show you another one. Let's search in the Hebrew throughout all these texts for bara. And we'll open up a pie chart again. It'll do the same thing in the bar chart, but the pie chart to me just looks better. And let me expand it out a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. And let me show you this compare feature. Right now I've just been showing you a combined set of all the different texts I have, but I can say instead of the combined set, show it to me in the, let's see, which ones do I want to look at? So, I don't, like the BHS or any of the Hebrew texts, and I also want to see Judean desert manuscripts. And how about, let's see, here's the Mishnah as well. Okay, so if I see, if I hover over here, it's going to show me how many times a specific instance of bara. Let's do this. Let's break it down by stem instead. So if I break it down by stem, now I can see how many times that bara was used with a kal stem in the HMT, and how many times that same stem was used in the Judean desert manuscripts, which is, let's see, I guess that's the middle one, which is none, and then the Mishnah uses it quite a bit. So this is some sort of big data kind of analyses you can perform on these texts in some really powerful ways, and it all has to do with the ability of accordance to generate the analyses on the fly in this new kind of way. And I told you I was going to show you some, one of my favorite things now about research is that I don't have to work with predefined groups or go to a specific group every single time. I can now go down, let's see, when I want to create a new one under all texts, I can create a custom group. And so this is, it's almost like creating a range using the range command on the fly. This just lets me bring together different texts that I may not ever want to use as a combination again ever. And it lets me update it here. And so now I'm searching, all these were English Bibles, so let's just do love again. And so now I've created that custom group just by clicking on the button here and selecting custom. Now if I decide I like this group, I can say convert this to a user group, give it a new name, and then it's going to show up in my library as a group. It'll also show up in research as one of these new custom groups that I've created. So that custom option, again, lets you on the fly create that tool. And so someone was asking earlier, was it papers or stacks be used to research? And it looks like only texts and tools and user tools, but stacks and papers aren't included within those categories. So at this point, that would be no. So any questions before I go on?
Are there ranges in version 12?
Yeah, I don't think the ranges are any different than what they were before. You might be, perhaps you're asking, have the ranges been changed to include more pre-built ones than we had before? I don't think so. These are the ranges I always had, and they were left untouched. So I think, if that's the question, I think they're the same group of ranges that we had before.
Where are they stored is the question.
The range files, they're actually stored in completely different locations depending on if you're on a Mac or Windows. So if, and I can give you instructions on how to get there and look at that range file, just email me when the class is over. If it's Mark
He has a Mac.
Yeah,
okay.
So mark@bible.com. Just email me with that, and it's in the library folder, so I'll be glad to. Or if you want to wait till we're done here, and I can show you. All right. Let me just mention. Oh, well, let me do one more thing here. Going back to the research, I wanted to give another practical example instead of working with Greek and Hebrew, where it is really fun. But let me go to my custom group here and just search for love. Let's see. Let's create a custom group here, and we'll do it with the ESV and I don't know, the NRSV. Okay, and all right, and we'll bring up a pie chart here, and now I can compare these. And I've only got two, so but I can select them here and say, don't show me the combined one, just show me the individual ones here. And so I can see pretty quickly that it's translating love in very similar ways across the different translations. Let's do love with the asterisk to get loving kindness and those kinds of things. Maybe we'll get some other options. So instead of combined, let's just look at each of those two, and that's fairly similar. Maybe I should have chosen in my custom group. Let me open up custom again and add another text. Let's add the King James. So that'll give me some differences for sure. And then I can say, show me the difference between the ESV and the King James for different forms of love. And so now I can see agapao and how it's used and so forth. So anyway, just some fun stuff you can do with that. But let me just mention a few other features, and then I'll open it up for questions. We now have Wi-Fi syncing in Windows. We've always had it, well, we've had it for a long time on the Mac, but not in Windows. So now you can do that too. The nice thing about Wi-Fi syncing is that it lets you copy, move modules from your computer to the iOS or the iOS device, iPad or iPhone. And so if you have 100 modules you want to move over, it's a lot quicker to do it that way from within your Wi-Fi network than trying to download them. We have some new visual enhancements to the timeline. So if you already have the timeline, I think it's a lot prettier than it used to be. And let's see, we can with all kinds of new colors and so forth. Sand and brown and peach and blue-gray. They've beautified the whole thing, so it's kind of neat. The other thing is they got rid of the information window, and all you have to do is let's see, yeah, just click on any of the items, and it's going to show you the information. And you can hide the interface items. Notice that down here you've got the legend and the zoom buttons. I can get rid of those. The conservative and critical dates are just a button now over here, so that's kind of fun. So timeline enhancements, and you guys might like this under the preferences, which you would get to by going on a Mac, go to Accordance and go down to Preferences. On a PC, you go to Edit and go down to Preferences. But now all of our keyboard shortcuts in Accordance are completely customizable, at least all the ones we have, which are all the ones that are on the menu plus a few more. So if you don't like copy, for example, if you want to always use copy as citation instead of just regular copy, now you can change, instead of command, what was it, option C, it's now, you can change it to command C if you want it. You can reset them all back to their defaults if you mess them up, but you just click on modify shortcut and enter the new one and you're good to go. So that's really handy. And finally, I think this is a feature that a lot of people may not realize is there or use that much, but for me it's really, really helpful. The ability to search through your library. We've had the ability to search by module name and title and author, so if you were looking for something like, Gordon Fee, it would show, the modules that had articles by him. But now you can search by tag as well. And so everything in our library has tags, and so if I want to search for anything that's Latin, I can search through Latin. If I want, so just we've got hundreds of these tags, so almost anything that you can think of, you'd be able to find. So it's kind of easy to navigate that way. And this is my favorite new way of looking for something in the library. Very often, I may want to look for something, a book like, let's say, Bell and the Dragon, right? And I don't know which of my resources have Bell and the Dragon, but well, let's see, maybe none of them do. Oh, I had tag selected, that's why it wasn't working. But now I can just select, I can type that in, and it's going to show every single one of my books that have Bell and the Dragon, so NRSV and so forth. But it'll also show me my tools. So here's Fortress Commentary, and I can go to the commentary section on Bell and the Dragon just that easily. So really handy to be able to search for books in texts, which would be Bell in the NRSV, for example, and books and tools, which would be Bell in a commentary. So, things like First Esdras and so forth, and now I can find the texts that have that specifically, and I can go directly to the commentaries that mention that too. All right, so at this point I've covered everything I wanted to talk about, and I'll open it up for questions, and we'll see but I don't know about parallel instant details. There may be things I don't even know about, but I think instant details have for the past couple, I can't remember when we started doing it, but it'll go into columns automatically if it gets too big like that.